Morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Well, so in the last class, we have discussed the top-down approach of constructing a data warehouse. Okay. Quickly review the things. Top-down approach means what happens that first we are collecting data from the different external sources. Then ETL process taking place on that staging area, thereby loading the data, that summarized data into data warehouse. After that only, we have constructed data mart. Okay. So that is the top-down approach as being proposed by Inmon. So that this is also known as Inmon's top-down approach. মন কৰিবলগীয়া কথা কি যে ইয়াত data warehouse to বনোৱাৰ পাছত after constructing the data warehouse only you will have data mart. Okay. Then we have seen bottom-up approach. When you concentrate on the figure, you'll see that this part is same, collecting the data from the external sources, landed them over staging area, ETL process taken place. After the ETL process, directly we go for building the data march. What I have said, after the ETL process, we directly go for building the data march. Then only we are keeping those in our data warehouse. So data warehouse is constructed only after constructing the data march. Okay. And that other thing, that data mining is from data warehouse is same as it was before. One more diagram for Kimball's approach. Kimball's approach means the bottom-up approach. Okay, like Inmon approach is for the top-down approach. Kimball proposed this one. So that's right. This approach is also known as Kimball's approach. ETL process. Okay. Now, let's go through some textual part. First, the data is extracted from external sources, same as happens in the case of top-down approach. Then the data go through the staging area, loaded into the data mart instead of data warehouse. The data marts are created first and provide reporting capability. It addresses a single business area. You know that. Okay, you already know about data mart very well. Then these data marts are then integrated into the data warehouse. As this approach is given by Kimball. Okay, Kimball, as data marts are created first, provides a clean view for analysis, and data warehouse is created after complete data marts have been created. So what are the advantages of this bottom-up approach? যদি তোমালোকক সোধে যে এই টপ ডাউন এপ্ৰোচ আৰু বটম আপ এপ্ৰোচটো কম্পেয়াৰ কৰা on the basis of advantage, can you do that? Of course you can. Okay, because advantage of top down approach we have already discussed. Now bottom up approach আৰু এটা মই কৈছিলো তোমালোকৰ ক্লাছত যে ডাঙৰ ডাঙৰ যিখিনি আমাৰ ভেন্ডাৰ্স কোম্পানী থাকে তাহাঁতি কোনটো এপ্ৰোচ ইন জেনাৰেল ফলো কৰে. Okay, that point is to be noted down. So as the data marts are created first, so the reports are quickly generated. We can accommodate more number of data marts here. And in this way, data warehouse can be extended. Also, the cost and time taken in designing this model is low comparatively. ठीक है, टॉप डाउन एप्रोच फ्रिकुवेंटली यूज किया गया था, मतलब फ्रिकुवेंटली यूज কৰিছিলে, কিন্তু তথাপিও তোমাৰ তাত কিছুমান প্ৰবলেমছ আছিলে। Okay, the problem is the cost and time taken. But in this case, bottom-up approach, what happened that it is very quick. You know that we have already generated the data mart subsets. Subset or set to superset to bonwatu easier. From subsets, you can easily create the superset. And it's on you now that how many subsets you exactly want. You want more specification, more specialization, you can easily do that. And the next stage, you just need to integrate them, and then your data warehouse is ready. Okay, these are the advantages of bottom-up approach. Now, although this bottom-up approach comparatively means including low cost and low time, but still there is one disadvantage that it is not as strong as top-down approaches, as per the dimensional view of data marts is not consistent in this case. Now, what do you mean by this line? Dimensional view of data mart is not consistent. Can anybody of you tell me by quickly analyzing this line, what actually it tries to symbolize? এই লাইনটোত কৈছে যে এই bottom up approach to top downৰ সমান powerful নহয় এটা ক্ষেত্ৰত যেতিয়া আমি dimensionটো consider কৰো dimensional view of the data marts is not consistent. Why we are saying like that? Any idea? If you want to share, then please go ahead. I'm just giving you one hint, then you'll try to solve it. See, look at this figure. A figureটোত লক্ষ্য কৰা data marts we are generating before we creating the data warehouse. মানে কি হৈছে ইয়াত তুমি যিমান বিচাৰা whatever the specialization you want, whatever the specification you want, you can create it. But sometimes that particular specification is not going to last forever, right? And when this is the case of data warehouse, don't forget the characteristics of data warehouse or a good data warehouse. Specifically, keep the historical data here, data which is not volatile in nature, right? You should know that which is not volatile in nature, time variant, and subject specific. Now, if you are creating this data mart, sometimes for a simple specification, you are creating a separate one, then is it going to be consistent over time? You cannot give surety on that, right? But that is exactly what we don't want in the case of data warehouse. কাৰণ আমি ডেটা ৱেৰহাউচত যিখিনি বস্তু থওঁ সেইখিনি এটা হিষ্টৰিকেল পাৰ্সপেক্টিভত থওঁ যাতে তাৰ পৰা আমি বিজনেছ এনালাইটিক্স কৰিব পাৰোঁ we want if it is the data case point of view then we can directly get it from the database right we can directly get it from some other sources of data but then what is the meaning of data warehouse the thing is that when this is the case of data warehouse this data is something different from the source and that difference lies in the case that how you are actually archiving those data you are keeping it on time basis, mean interval basis, and those things which are not going to be changed now. For that period that is being done and that is being summarized and kept in the data warehouse. Now, in the case here, in this bottom-up case, that this rule is somewhat violated, means in this particular case, right? If you notice carefully, if you analyze carefully, then you'll see that somehow that particular rule is being violated here. We want the dimension, but dimension should be consistent, right? Dimension should not be the case that aji ase aru kaile nai. That should not be the case. This dimension should be organized in such a way that will help us to analyze the data even after 2-3 years of whatever the time period you are going to take for that analysis purpose. Got it? So that from that point of view, we can say that this approach, this bottom-up approach is not strong as top-down approach as the dimensional view of data march. It's not consistent. Okay. What you will do, you will write in your own notes. Okay, by giving some examples, we'll make it clear. Okay, is it clear to everyone? Buji palan hoy sobe?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this particular figure tries to give you the differences between this Inmon's approach and Kimball's approach. Uporoto, the first one is the Kimball's approach, and the next one, this bottom one, is the Inmon's. Kimball, Inmon. আৰু মই ভাবো যে এতিয়া you are not going to forget these things. Okay, sometimes I have seen that in exam, in this competitive exams also, questions being asked like, what are the differences between data march and data warehouse? I know after this discussion, it is very much clear to you that what are the differences between them. Okay. Let's take some particular, or I can say specific points, and we try to discuss data march with respect to them, like focus. In case of data march, focus is a single subject or functional organization area. Then data sources, relatively few sources linked to one line of business. Then size less than 100 GB. This is not this is not a constraint. Okay, this may be varied from requirements perspective. Then normalization, no preference between a normalized and denormalized structure. As you know, normalization, we give the importance on normalization with respect to traditional database only. Then decision types, practical decisions pertaining to particular business lines and ways of doing things. Cost, typically in Indian, you can convert this one, but it is not going to be a very huge amount if we consider our country basis. Then generally it takes time up to 3 to 6 months. Data health typically summarize data. And these are the points with respect to data mart. And then let's discuss the same thing with respect to data warehouse. Focus enterprise-wide repository of disparate data sources. Data sources, there will be different external, many external and internal sources from different areas of an organization. Size minimum 100 GB, but often in the range of terabytes or for large organization. Normalization, modern warehouse are mostly denormalized for quicker data query and read performance. Decision type, strategic decisions that affect the entire enterprise, not a single domain. In the case of the Tamart, that was a single domain, but here for the entire enterprise, cost varies often greater than this $100,000. For cloud solution, cost can be automatically lower as organizations pay per use. Remember, this question is also coming that ক্লাউডত বেছি পইচা খৰচ হ'বনে তোমাৰ ট্ৰেডিশ্যনেল অৰ্গেনাইজেশ্যনটো এটা মানে নৰ্মেল আমাৰ চিষ্টেম ইউজ কৰিলে খৰচ বেছি হ'ব where it will be more costly then answer will be you know that in cloud we pay only use basis right ideal হৈ থাকিলে আমি পইচা দিব নালাগে we are not going to pay for idle things. Then setup time at least a year for on-premise warehouse and cloud data warehouse are much quicker. On cloud already সববিলাক ready থাকে. Data health, raw data, metadata, and summary data. So that's it. These are the different points with respect to data mart and data warehouse. I think that's all for today. And যিটো মই এতিয়া ডিসকাস কৰিছিলোঁ সেইটো লিখি ল'ব তোমালোকে।
Okay, sir.